Alright folks, welcome to Stu's Garage YouTube channel. Today we're going to be working on the Miata. It's like, I don't know, the more you use something, the more it breaks. The more you don't use it, the more it breaks. So it breaks regardless. But actually this is an issue that's probably been an underlying issue ever since this build began, ever since the first start. It's been always making a tapping noise. Didn't know what it was. I figured I would just run it and I don't know, just see what happened, but maybe it would survive for a little while. But at this point, it actually became obvious what it was, and it's what I expected the entire time. And I think we've got a collapsed lifter on our hands. Check this out, guys. You ever seen a push rod get mashed like this? The top is completely flat. Of course, you can't see it. Top of my push rod is completely flat. So I've been running around sourcing parts. Right now we've got some really nice crane lifters in the car, which are not so nice because they're broken. So we're just going to put everything stock back in the car. So I've got stock lifters, a stock, whatever that thing is called, and whatever these things are called, stock push rods. I am missing one push rod, so I'm going to have to salvage one out of my spare engine. And new head gaskets. I really hope that I don't need to remove the heads to do the lifters, but I really think that I will have to. Even though these lifters can slide in and out with the head still on, the aftermarket lifters are a little bit longer, and they just may not have the space to slide out. So I'm really crossing my fingers, but I think I'm going to have to pull the heads and do the head gaskets and all of that stuff. Either way, I'm pretty sure I bought the ARP head bolts, so at least I don't have to spend money on another set of head bolts. So let's go back over to the car and begin this process of breaking things down. And I don't know, just to throw out there for time reference for folks, just so you know kind of what it's like, this is day 2 for me on the car, and the video started on day 1. This time I'm going to take deliberate reference of my distributor because I've had confusion in the past. You just yank it out of there and then you don't know where it is, and then you have to retime your engine and you don't actually remember how you had your timing adjusted. So I know right now that it's pointed in this direction, and I know that the bottom of the distributor, so I've got little notches in there from when I've taken it out in the past. There we go, and we can see how my notch lines up to that notch right there. There we go. So I couldn't point to, there we go. And now we can see how the notches kind of line up. I don't know if you can see them, but I can see them, and that's the most important part because I will be going back to watch this video. Alright guys, so we're down to the lifters, and these are the things that we need to change out in order to get everything working. This is the offending lifter right here, this guy right here, and I don't know, there's a good chance that my cam is beat up. I'm not changing the cam, so if that caused this motor to explode, I don't really care, but I'm not changing the cam. It's too much work. What I want to do right now is to see if I can get these lifters out without removing the heads. If I have to pull the heads off, that's going to add like 2 days worth of work to this thing. Normally this would be like a nice evening job for your average skilled mechanic. I just can't really spend several hours consecutively on this, so I'll just have to put it down and come back to it later. So I'm really hoping that I'll be able to pull these lifters out without pulling the heads off. Let's see. Alright guys, I didn't get lucky. Those lifters are not coming out, so the heads are going to come off. And the reason why that's just going to be a lot of annoying work is because I got to pull the headers off. Nothing is super difficult on this car. It's just really tedious. Dealing with header bolts is just annoying. But gotta do what we gotta do. So let's go ahead and get in there and see what we can see. Before we go deeper into this motor, I just kind of want to show you guys the damage that happened. So right here we have two push rods. These were originally the same length, and you can see how compacted that one is down. That's like 1/3 of an inch maybe. I don't know. That's a pretty good distance. And at first when I saw this, I thought that maybe that little ball had just gotten smashed down, but this push rod is like, I don't know if you can see that little crack there, but it's like this push rod has been rolled into itself. And yeah, to the point where when I pulled this out, I hadn't pulled any other ones out, but I looked at it and I compared it to spare parts, and I didn't even think they were the same kind of push rod. I thought I was going to have to get a different length, but yeah, that's the damage from smacking into the rocker. Alright, time for the moment of truth. The offending lifter. No damage. That's a good sign. So we're looking at this one right here. There's no damage to the wheel, which means there should not be damage to the cam. Alright, we got everything broken down. The cylinders look good. Everything pretty much looks good from this point. Gonna go ahead and take a couple of cans of brake cleaner, spray everything off as much as I can, just to try and get some of the residual oil and crud and other things that have built up on the engine and during this short time period, and just get everything cleaned up so that we can put new gaskets on here and put everything back together. On the job, get started trying to torque sequence these head bolts and get everything reassembled inside the car. And look what I found down in the engine bay, if you guys can see it. There it is. That's a frog. It's a big old frog. I see this guy every time I do stuff with my cars. He's gonna end up getting run over one day. I hope he doesn't, but he's just chilling there on the subframe. If I can catch him, I'll probably take him somewhere, put him near the water or something. He's always in the way. There we go, I got the header out. There's a better view of him. I'm gonna see if I can catch him, put him elsewhere, because I don't want this guy getting run over. Alright, I got him. These guys are extremely hard to catch because they're so slippery and they're very powerful, and this is actually a pretty big one. So I normally don't catch these guys, but we're gonna move him. Hopefully he doesn't come back. All right, guys, we got a lot of work done on day 3. This is now day 4, and didn't take a lot of video, but we got this thing mostly back together. So right now I'm just gonna focus on plugging things up that need to be plugged in, take one more look over everything, put my belt back on, put fluids back in, and then we're gonna try and start this thing, and hopefully it's not making any funny noises. All right, here we go. First start. Hopefully everything goes smooth. No funny noises, no fluid leaks. Let's see what happens. Not change the oil in this thing. Alright guys, it's a new day and a new project. I never sat down to edit the video, so it looks like this content's all gonna get wrapped into one. Something I probably wouldn't normally have made its own video for, but since I'm doing it and I can use the video, we're gonna throw it in there. First and foremost, I want to give yet another shout out to Diagnosing JDM Fender flares for making me this very special set of Fender flares. These are going to be a little bit different from the ones that he normally sells. I asked him to make these things extra thick because I keep breaking them. Not only do I have, and these things are like rock solid. Like it's going to be tough to actually bend these in the shape that they need to be in to be on the car. But I'm super happy about these. These are like double thick. So, anyways, shout out to Diagnosing JDM Fender flares. That's where I get my Fender flares from that I run on the Miata and the Mustang. Not only do I have that, but I've also got this set of generic Fender flares, which I got off of eBay. And I'm actually going to be mounting these underneath those Fender flares. And they're going to stick out just a little bit, and these are going to offer extra protection. I'm tired of blowing off my Fender flares, guys. As you know, I drove that car 3 times, and I destroyed my Fender flares 3 times. And that's just too expensive for that to keep happening, and wasteful. I've got a pile of scrap Fender flares up here that I keep to kind of pick and cut parts off of to try and patch my Fender flares together, but I don't like driving around with a raggedy car, and I don't want broken flares on my car. So we got to keep that thing looking right. Style matters, guys. On another note, if you like electric longboards, I've got another one exactly like this for sale for a very good price. It's all boxed up and ready to go. It's got a lot of extras, 2 sets of wheels, whatever. If you're interested, this is an onboard Zeus. It'll go like 40 miles an hour in the correct configuration, and the range is like 40 miles plus. So yeah, hit me up if you want an onboard. I need to sell things, guys. Can't buy car parts with all these other things laying around in the house. Speaking of buying car parts, I've got an exciting upgrade coming for the Miata. You guys will see that in a later video. I don't have it here yet, so it's not a done deal, but it's pretty much a done deal. So anyways, let's go ahead, get these guys painted up so we can put them on the car. Alright, so over the years I've gotten pretty good at painting things here in the garage to a decent automotive quality. You really can't even tell the difference between the parts that I spray paint and the parts that are already on the car. Granted, my cars don't have the greatest paint jobs in the world, but either way, it comes out pretty good. It doesn't look like a rattle can. So, by the book, the first thing you should do is clean, sand, and then wipe down with a cheesecloth. I don't do that because I hate sanding things, so I just kind of skip that step. It doesn't hurt me, but if you want to do it properly, then do it properly. So the first thing I do is I just go ahead and wipe it down with a nice microfiber rag to get any dust and debris off. You absolutely don't want any kind of dust on the surface that you're painting because that dust will show up. It will not go away. There's no way you can cover dust. It will always stick out. Also, do not use any kind of cleaning products, especially automotive cleaning products like detailers and stuff, because that will absolutely make the paint not stick, and you'll have weird bubbling and all kind of weird stuff happening. If you do have to use a cleaning product, maybe use like a Windex or ammonia or something that evaporates, maybe alcohol, but don't use any automotive products on your thing. So we've got those cleaned. They're ready to go. This primer right here is my favorite primer to use, the 2-in-1 sandable fillable primer. They have another variant of this which is like double thick or double coat or something like that, but you want to give a nice coat of this. The way you apply this is basically you just keep misting it on until you have a whole layer. You don't ever want to try and cover everything all at once. You just want to mist it on there. Alright, so that's all there is to it. Layer 1 is down. Ideally I wouldn't have so many spots like you see here, but that might just be because this paint is old or the nozzle is jacked up. But at the end of the day, that's not going to affect things too badly. And I'm just going to keep layering it up like this until I have full coverage. So it'll take me maybe 3 to 4 passes, and you wait about 5 minutes in between each pass. And before I forget, I just want to say this now. Absolutely do not use a fan to help this thing dry. Find a place with very little to no wind, indoors preferably, so that it can just sit and dry on its own. Do not use a fan. That will ruin it. It will blow dust into your paint, which will always show up. Don't do that. In other news, while we wait for paint to dry, the Mustang broke again. It actually killed a wideband sensor, which caused the engine to run really bad. It's fixed, but I don't know, that's like the 10th time this car is broken without me driving it. It's getting exhausting, guys, but I don't know. Eventually it'll all pay off. Alright guys, we're all done with the fender flares, and at this stage I'm going to let them cure for a while because this is not automotive grade paint. It tends to be tacky for a long time. So for me personally, I'll let them sit indoors for no less than a week. If I can put them out in the sun, that's the best thing for them, to let them bake in the sun. But normally by the time I get home from work, there's not that much sunlight left to let them sit in. So either way, I'm gonna let these things set for several days to cure and get fully hardened, and then we're gonna try and put them on the car.